You know, the Barnum Museum is truly a treasure, not just in Bridgeport, not just in Fairfield County, but really in the state of Connecticut. I mean, the rich history of P.T. Barnum, it attracts so many. His story just knows no boundaries, no particular generation when it comes to people's interest in it. In fact, it's a huge reason why there's really been a lot of focus and investment on trying to get the building back to a recovery state and eventually reopen to the public. And actually earlier this year, we were able to talk to the folks at the Barnum Museum to find out more about how they're not only going to reopen it eventually, but also even make it a better experience than what was there before, which is so exciting. But tomorrow, there's a really neat opportunity, and it really dives into, again, that idea of rich history that attracts so many people. The Barnum Museum is hosting a free book discussion exploring the untold stories and powerful legacies of America's first ladies through the lens of acclaimed author, White House expert, and Bridgeport native, Anita McBride. And Anita joins us now. Anita, thank you so much for being here, and welcome back to Bridgeport. How are you?
Oh, Melissa, thank you so much. What a terrific introduction. And you've got me very excited even more to come back to Bridgeport tomorrow.
I love that. I mean, first of all, are you a Barnum fan?
Yes, I love the Barnum Museum. Went there many times, of course, growing up in Bridgeport. I am so thrilled that it has the first National Historic Landmark designation for the city of Bridgeport by the National Park Service. I visited there in 2007 with Laura Bush. When I was her chief of staff, we brought her to the Barnum Museum to do an event there. It's just such a prized cultural heritage site.
I couldn't agree with you more. And, you just kind of hinted at what I was going to talk about, before obviously talking about your book, is a little bit more about you. So you just shared that you were the chief of staff to First Lady Laura Bush, but you also have over 20 years of experience in senior service under previous presidents as well. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, thank you very much. I was a campaign volunteer in 1980 as a senior at the University of Connecticut.
Wow.
Campaign volunteer for Ronald Reagan. He won the election. I wanted to move to Washington. I did. It took me a while to build, a network and to get an opportunity to work in government, but I went to work in the White House reading the mail for the president. I was a mail analyst in the correspondence office. It was an opportunity that over those 12 years of the Reagan-Bush years, young people like me had a chance to really grow in our experience and have other opportunities, because I worked for President George H.W. Bush in the White House as well, as director of White House personnel, and then came back in 2001 to work for George W. Bush after that election that, of course, as we knew, took a while for the decision to be made ultimately by the Supreme Court in that contested election. But they needed people who had experience in the White House. So I had a chance to go back again and worked all those 8 years, but 4 of them for Laura Bush as her chief of staff, which was an extraordinary opportunity. We went to all 50 states and 67 countries together.
Wow. I mean, can I just say, Anita, how neat it is when you hear about local Connecticut, because you were a kid. Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it, and granted, I understand, college, you were a college student, but you're a kid.
Yes,
the fact that you got to that point in your career, kind of fresh out of college, I think that's extraordinary. I think that's a really neat story. And I think it's true. I think it serves as such an inspiration to not just young women, but young kids who feel like, well, all I've ever known is Connecticut. But I mean, that's incredible.
And Melissa, I think what is really important to know here, and I hope that it is inspiring for other young kids, to say anybody can do it. Anybody could start, as being involved in a project that they're interested in, or people that they're interested in working for, particularly in politics. Campaigns do provide that opportunity. And it is hard. It's a civic education and civic engagement exercise. I had no idea I was going to end up where I was, but I was interested in getting involved and getting engaged. And I'm very, very fortunate. And I came from a family that was not political. No one had been involved in politics.
Oh, how
at all.
interesting. So what
Not
gave
at
you the
all.
bug? Why was your, okay, I'm going to DC? What sparked that?
Two things. I was a junior year abroad in Italy in 1979, and the American hostages in Iran were taken. And I remember being an American student, a foreign student in a foreign country, and seeing the response by other young people that were actually celebrating the fact that this had happened to America. That shocked me. I didn't, have that kind of frame of reference. My family are all immigrants from Italy to the United States, patriotic Americans, of course, appreciate their country, never, gave up on the heritage birth country. But still, I grew up having a respect for being an American, and seeing that really sparked something in me. And then I came back to Connecticut to finish my senior year, and a friend who had graduated a year ahead of me was working on the campaign and said, "We need volunteers. Do you want to help?"
Wow.
And that's how it got started.
Wow. And here you are today. Again, Anita McBride, which I'm really excited to talk about tomorrow's event. She's an acclaimed author, White House expert, also from right here in Bridgeport, which I just love. Now, Anita, your book, Remembering the First Ladies, The Legacies of America's History-Making Women. First of all, what is it about? I mean, it sounds like it's pretty self-explanatory, but talk a little bit about what it really covers, and also who are you profiling in this?
Right. Great question. Thank you very much. This is actually one of 3 books that I've written on this topic. The first was the first ever textbook called U.S. First Ladies, Making History and Leaving Legacies. That was published in 2023. And I co-wrote this with 2 others. We covered everyone from Martha Washington to Melania Trump. And so does the book that you just referenced, which is now more of a regular reader's version that you can find on Amazon and get in bookstores. And what we look at are the contributions that these women have made throughout our history, even when women did not have rights, because women did not have rights in the United States until 133 years after our founding. But still, this platform, this position, this role is so unique in our American system that each person gets to define it the way that they want, to make the contributions, to be engaged in issues that they are interested in, that support the presidency. They are a partner to the president. And so we try and elevate where they have impacted our politics, where they've impacted national policy, where they have impacted our global diplomacy, and have the arc of the history of how the role and status of women has evolved over time, but how First Ladies have used their unique platform to help push the nation forward.
I think this is extraordinary. So for tomorrow's event that's happening at the Barnum Museum, again, it's at 6:00. It is free to go, which is incredible.
That's right.
What's going to be happening? Give me an idea of what people can engage in.
Sure. So we're going to have with a terrific director there, Kathleen Marr, who's done an amazing job helping to raise the profile of the Barnum Museum and bring some interesting programming to it. She and I will be in a moderated conversation about the book, about my experiences in the White House, about examples of leadership of American First Ladies through our history. And we'll talk, just have a very good conversation, and then questions and question and answers from the audience, too. I want people to feel connected to their history, feel connected to the fact that as our nation is inching towards its 250th anniversary in 2026, that we have, that we need to understand our history and understand the past to really be able to focus on a more perfect future for our nation. And this will be just a great discussion about little known or lesser known stories in our history. And if we talk about inclusive history in our country, which we do, how could we not include the contributions of these women in this unique role?
I agree. And I love that you focus on this, Anita. When you said earlier, you sort of you you said something that I can relate to very much, which is that I did not grow up in an environment where politics were king. I couldn't tell you most of my childhood. I mean, I know now, but I couldn't tell you most of my childhood which side of the aisle my parents were on, so on and so forth. That was just never really something that was sort of pushed in our faces, which honestly, as an adult, I really appreciate because we were able to kind of make our paths forward, but I digress. I never really understood the roles that first ladies held, to be honest, until I really did a deeper dive. So I always admired Princess Diana growing up. I loved her. I absolutely loved her. And in fact, it's the only time my parents gave me a pass to stay home from school the next day because I was so inconsolable when she died. But again, I digress. When I got older and I had talked about how much I loved Princess Diana, this was in my college years, somebody had said to me, well, that reminds me of this first lady, or I think at the time it was Michelle Obama. And I had said, well, yeah, maybe, but it's totally different. And it became where I'm like, wait, let me do a deeper dive into this and really understand this better. And to your point, the contributions that first ladies have done, I do think are significant. And I love the fact that you have not only the expertise because you have that frame of reference, but also we've got the proof in the history. We just don't really focus on it enough. So I love that you've made that a point.
You said that exactly right. And I had the benefit of a front row seat to history in the White House, not once, but 3 times. And then particularly in that seat of being the chief of staff to the First Lady. And I saw how multifaceted it was. And even I was astounded by how much we did in a day. I could go from planning a secret trip to Afghanistan for Mrs. Bush, which I did 3 times in my tenure with her, to planning Queen Elizabeth's state visit.
Wow.
All in
That's
the same
crazy.
week at the same time. That's how much that office, the East Wing, just has an ability to have an impact. Always, again, they're not the elected official. They are policy advocates. They are an additive. They never want to be a distraction. Sometimes that happens, but it is a line that is very careful to not be crossed from going from policy advocate to policy maker, but it adds so much to a presidency. And we were some of the things we uncovered in our research were just so great that I never knew about. Things about Bess Truman or Edith Roosevelt and things that they did were really important that we're shining a light on it.
I agree. And so I don't want people to miss out. I know it's free to go. Do people need to get a reservation or anything like that ahead of time?
Yes, I think that there was a link that there was for people just to sign up to come, but it is all free and open to the public. But I am sure if people come, they're not going to be turned away. We'd love to have a full house at the Barnum Museum tomorrow night at 6:00, and we'll have books there for those that are interested, including a children's book that I co-authored with my daughter, who is an elementary school teacher, called First Ladies Make History for elementary school level. We're bringing this to all levels of students and adults alike to understand this aspect of our history.
That's incredible. Anita McBride, I want to thank you so much for giving us the time here on WICC, and certainly thank you for doing these books and doing these discussions. I think it's such an incredible opportunity. So we so appreciate it, and I look forward to your event.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Melissa. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Again, Anita McBride, who is an acclaimed author, White House expert, and is from right here in Bridgeport with such incredible stories to share, and an engaging book discussion that is going to be happening tomorrow night at the Barnum Museum. It is free to go with complimentary parking over at the M&T Bank headquarters. And there are opportunities if you want to, get a reservation ahead of time, you can to secure a seat, but it is free and you can just show up as is. That's not a problem either.